Okay, welcome to the Prophecy Club. I've got a new person on with me today. His name is William Armour. Now, listen to this guy. Okay, so target packages acquisitions was his job in military intelligence, worked for the Army Reserve for a number of years. And then he went off to become a minister and went through Azusa Pacific Bible College, I believe is the way to say that. But he got interested in precious metals. Now he's been in the world of precious metals for 7 years. And so I'm going to see if I can embarrass him by asking several questions about him. So let me start off with William. Is there anything else you want people to know about you?
I would just say that all of the things you just mentioned there are the context for how I have ended up in precious metals. My experience in military intelligence. One thing, Stan, you're very good about, and I really appreciate, is you don't shy away from the reality that there are countries out there that absolutely want to destroy us,
Oh,
and given the opportunity, will destroy us. And that is one thing I got to see firsthand, is how unaware I think most of the American public is about how much Russia hates us, how much China hates us, et cetera, et cetera. And even just functionally, as I was working, getting to see the training shift, as I was coming out of the military from a lot of the training early on in my career was based towards the Middle East and things of that nature. And it started to shift to what we call force on force. So that would be one large army versus another large army, i.e., China, Russia, et cetera. So even the military's planning has started to change dramatically. And I don't think that people understand that our military already understands that this is on the forefront, that this is coming. But I think most people just think, well, China doesn't like us. Well, Russia doesn't like this. Well, if that is where you draw the line, then you are seriously underestimating the rest of the world and how they view us. And I think that we see that all through Scripture, is that dark hates the light. And so as we continue to shine, which our light has dimmed dramatically over time, but I think that they're looking for that death knell in our country. So off my soapbox there, but go ahead. Sorry.
okay. No, here comes the impromptu question. Okay, so what do you see that is happening in our nation right now and the near future?
Yeah, I would say that, whether it was calculated, it was intentional, whether it was an accident, I tend to look at things as I don't believe in a lot of coincidence here. So I think that where we've gotten with this debt, where we have gotten with the infrastructure in our country, is orchestrated in a lot of ways. And I think that as this plays out, there was a deliberate attempt and continues to be an attempt to sabotage our nation. And it ends with a real dramatic falling apart. And I think that why I've come to metals, and I was getting to this, is that I came because I understood, and I began to understand that the way that this ends is not going to be pretty. And if people are unprepared for that, if they have not done the preparation to put themselves in a way where they can survive that, and their friends, family. I mean, granted, don't get me wrong, we're going to be with the Lord at some point, but a lot of the people behind us will not be. And I like to have the understanding that I will be leaving something in positions where they can survive some of that period, and hopefully, end up, getting through that. So it's part of my understanding greatly on the world that things will end negatively. This debt is not an accident.
Okay, another impromptu question. So Jonathan Rose tells me that this is a Christian organization. Why do you say that? Do you say that it's a Christian organization as well?
I do, absolutely. And I mean, I have been so blessed to be a part of Genesis, because I can do things like this and I can talk like this, and I don't have someone finger wagging at me for bringing up my faith. And that's a piece that I was lucky to leave in ministry. You have that in vocational ministry. Obviously, you're not afraid to say what the Lord is giving you. But in the corporate world, you can't do that. Genesis is a great meld where I can meld my financial expertise and understanding with my biblical expertise and understanding. And together that provides a really great roadmap for stewardship.
Okay, so if someone really, 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 really wants to talk to a Christian, can they call in and say, I want to talk to William?
You absolutely can, but I'm going to ask that you guys call me Bill.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that was a question I intended to ask too. And Jonathan suggested I ask that question. So, do I call you William or Bill?
You can call. You can. I like you, so you can call me Bill.
Okay, so
But
go in and say, let me talk to Bill Armour.
yes, talk to me. I'm very happy to look at anyone. I tell everyone, call, talk to me, even if you don't think it applies. The account, and we can get into specifics of how that works. But even if you're not sure, call, take a couple minutes, see if it's something that might be helpful for you, because I can happily impress on our conversation here today, and then in more private conversations people call in, but impress the severity of where we are and where we're going. Because if you find yourself unprepared, you're going to be very, very upset. And Stan, you don't shy away from this. This is one of the things I love about you, is that you don't arrests, mass arrests, martial law, all of these things. These are coming, and they will occur. The suitcase nukes is something that maybe I know more about than I should. That we can talk about that, but these sort of things do come, and they will come.
Really?
Yeah, well, what I can say and what I should say are different. But again, I was in the Intel community. There's a lot of these things that
when I say suitcase nukes, it's not a bunch of rubbish.
No, of course not. The nuclear weapons don't disappear. No one has any record of them, and we just pretend that's fine. But you don't want to create a panic, and I don't want to say that this is not coming from DOD. What I'm saying, this is from Bill Armour. I have to preface, what I can say.
What I can say on.
But I do say that no, this is not a load of rubbish. This is just life. This is the world we live in.
Okay, what do you see coming in the near future? That's a nice broad question.
I see food shortages. I see economic collapse. I think that the dollar is on its last leg. It does not last forever. No currency lasts forever. Fiat currency as a whole is, I would say, abiblical. It's anti-God. It's a debt-based system. It is created to enslave. A man cannot serve two masters. If you're serving debt and the fiat system, you can't serve God. So my soapbox there. But in terms of what comes next, collapse of the dollar, food shortages, martial law, as you alluded to. And then at that point, you start to get the vultures coming, and the vultures being other countries here that want to see the full downturn. All of what we're seeing across the board with the BRICS is an organizing of the new world order, if you will, as they try to destroy the United States. So when that occurs, of course, I think the end goal of this is, and you probably would agree with me, a one world currency, one world order and whatnot. But when you get to gold, and the reason I talk about gold is it's a way for you to be aside from and outside of that platform. There is effectively two railroads here, parallel economies that exist. There is one that will be that new world currency, that will be that system, and there will be almost a bartering system that will exist with metals and in other goods. Obviously, metals is not the only thing. I was in the Army. I have a lot of guns. I have a lot of lead too. I own a lot of metals, but there will be a parallel economy here that exists, and all you're doing is getting over to, when you go to metals, is you're getting over to that parallel economy so that you are prepared when that does occur. There is a point, and no one knows the time or the day, when it will be almost a Noah's Ark situation, where the rain will start, the ark doors will be closed, and you will not be able to accomplish this anymore. So when I talk to people and they tell me, Bill, but the market's up or this or that, or it doesn't matter, because if you are late to that plane, if you're late to that boat, you have missed it entirely. So it is not a wait and see. It is a do now and be prepared. It's they don't.
Are you saying that you think that the door to getting into gold and silver might close?
Absolutely. Well, and close in the sense that I think there is no question in my mind, because the powers to be do not want you to have something that they can't control. A barterable system here, metals, gold, etc., is not something they want. I believe that the future will look a lot like the people that have refused that have metals and are refusing the mark to transact. And there will be those that benefit by going as an in-between, that trade gold for goods and then take the gold and go back and sell that for that digital currency that they transact with the mark. So
okay,
to me,
let me ask you the what is the reason right now why someone needs to look at getting gold or silver?
Because if you don't get it now, as we get closer to it, it's going to get more expensive. As we get closer to that deadline, it's going to get more expensive. So you're losing out on some of those benefits there. B, we're going to see, this is just biblical, we're going to see a financial restructuring, which means markets are not going to respond well to war, to nukes, to any of this stuff. So you're going to see investment drops in that way. And then 3, you are going to either be early or late. There's no in between. You're either early or you're late to that final switchover when you can no longer get metals without transacting in a central bank digital currency, a one world currency.
That's a good point, because we tend to want to do things and get in the door at the last second. Right? Let me put my foot in the door and let me get it. Okay, if it's about to happen, then I'll do it right now. But I think you're right. I mean,
sound like your life.
Either you do it early or you do it late.
Yeah.
But you're probably not going to do it at exactly the right time. The right time is early.
Correct. And I think that it's the same idea as keeping your lamp full, right? You want to keep oil in your lamp, because you don't. I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, and the example that the Lord kind of put on my heart was, imagine if someone came to you and said, I'm just going to wait to follow Jesus until I'm going to give it a few weeks. I'm not quite ready yet. And then a few weeks come, maybe a few weeks, but no one knows the time or the day. So what are we doing here by waiting and putting this off? This is something that needs to happen now, because it could be tomorrow. It could be the next day.
Okay. So they call you 1-800-200-GOLD. I want to talk to Bill Armour. Then what happens?
So what we're going to do is I'm going to sit down and figure out, how exactly you're set up. There's a number of ways for you to get metals from where you are. So step 1 is understanding your retirement setup, your financial setup, so that we can understand how exactly we can help you. This might be, you've got savings in a bank account, you might have an IRA, 401k, many different ways. And we will discern here what the best course of action, at least in terms of what you can actually do. So if you've got an IRA, you've got a 401k, you've got a pension, 403b is a number of accounts here that you might be set up with that are structured inside of this fiat system that is inevitably going to be damaged dramatically. And you want to say, hey, I want to protect what I've worked my entire life for. I don't want that to be caught up in this nonsense and this evil cabal that is existing. I mean, the banking system, make no mistakes, is absolutely evil. And so I want to move that away from it into something solid, into something gold and silver is mine, saith the Lord. That's how you are. So moving it into something here that is God-made, not man-made, because man-made has a really bad track record. God-made here, and preserve that and protect for the future. That might be for your kids. That might be for your grandkids. Whatever that is, at least finally, that is not going to disappear. It's not going to be swept up in all of this chaos.
Okay, so I just saw on HalTurnerRadioShow.com that somebody has begun to sell a lot of treasuries. And then we hear that China and Germany and several other nations been buying gold like it's going out of style. They've been shipping gold into it. I mean, there's a lot of things in the world of finances that raise your eyebrows saying, what? Okay, yeah. Here's my question. With all of the things that are going on, this is your job to follow. What do you see happening financially? In other words, is that door getting pretty close? Are we running out of time? What do you see happening?
Yeah, great question. And I think the analogy and the information I'll give you to explain how close we are is, think about the dollar. So the dollar, we have, since its inception here, we have lost 99% of its value. So poof, 99% of that is gone. Now, the dollar as a whole is the rail system. It's the bones of our entire financial system. It's like the steel in our entire economy. Now, if you were pulling up to a bridge, and that bridge was made, and you see a sign that as you're coming up to that bridge, and it says, warning, this bridge now 1% strength of when it was created. Are you ever in your right mind continuing taking your family across that bridge? No, never. You're going to say, I have to find some other way to navigate around. And that is where most people find themselves at this point, is they have worked, they have their family, they have their life savings, their retirement, and they need to get to the other side of that river. but that bridge is not going to take them there. So we have to get creative on how do we get around that. So 1% of the strength of when it was created, national debt, over 37 trillion. These numbers, we just say them like they're numbers. We just
let me ask you, put it a different question. We hear that BRICS is coming. We hear that according to Shane Warren, that the thing that is going to cause the dollar to start to fall is when they start selling oil in another currency other than the dollar, which started June 9th of 2024. And I'm frankly amazed that the dollar has not already crashed. But the big question everybody says is, how come the dollar hasn't crashed? Because Saudi Arabia has been selling oil now for quite a while in yuan and other currencies. And so I'm amazed it hasn't already crashed. Your comment.
So first off, it has started to. It's down since then. It's down about 10%. The dollar, the UVXY, the dollar index there is down 10% since then. So it is crashing. You're just not going to see that on mainstream news. The last thing they ever want to do is promote information and things that people would run for the hills about. You don't see the bank failures plastered on every wall. That is they try as best they can to keep these things small because they don't want to incite panic. Anytime a bank, just so you know, run on the banks, just to understand this, is a bank doesn't have the amount of money that they need per se on any given day, that if everyone came and wanted to withdraw their money, they wouldn't have it. And if everyone really understood that might concern them, and they might go over and try to take their money out and create the bank failure. So the single most powerful tool the institution can use is telling you everything's fine and manipulating what information comes out and what doesn't. And if you're trusting, when you say, well, we're not seeing, this and that, if you're trusting them to be the ones to tell you, that you're going to be far too late.
But I think that's what the typical American does. As a matter of fact, I think the typical Christian is trusting either Fox News or some other kind of podcast out there that they think has the information that they're going to need. But I think what you're saying is nobody knows. Don't let the door close. Get something done now.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Because by the time if you wait, you may be too late. You might still be fine. I mean, if this was 2 months ago and today, hey, great. But people didn't come with their retirements and take them to Vegas. And if you're the kind of person that likes to wait, you might as well just go to Vegas then, because that's really what you're doing with your life savings. And I think about my kids. I think about one day, I'm going to be a grandfather at some point, God willing. And I think about wanting to make sure that people in my life are set up and protected. And so I can't afford to make the wrong decision in that way.
Okay. So what's your best advice that you can give us at this point?
Best advice is to at least look into this, is talk to someone, talk to me. I'm more than happy to go through this. I think that we're going to see it even just in the returns. I mean, God blesses those who follow his word, and gold and silver is mine, saith the Lord. So we're going to see these returns, things like gold, silver, but particularly silver, even I'm very, very fond of right now for some technical reasons, they talk about these batteries that are coming out out of Tesla. I think we're seeing scientists are really finding that silver actually is a really productive metal, more so than we've ever thought. There you go.
Tell them about this.
Yeah, so that is a silver prepper bar, which is something that I personally have tons of. Those are, you'll see pure silver, 49 silver there, but it breaks into smaller denominations. You can actually utilize those to transact here in this parallel economy I'm speaking of. And this is why silver is becoming so much more expensive, in my view, is because as gold reaches levels that are going to be unattainable, you can't, you're not going to go to the bakery and buy, a loaf of bread with an ounce of gold. You're going to have smaller denomination silver. When silver skyrockets the way that most experts think that it will, you're going to need even fractional silver, not even 1 ounce pieces, fractional silver to buy the smaller items that you need in your daily life.
Okay, let me tell them a little bit about silver. I have always been a gasoline combustion guy, as everybody has. But the most recent car I bought was electric. And I've had some of my friends say, What are you doing buying electric? But it's the best car that I've had in my life. I absolutely love it. but there's some things that hold electrics back. Now, let me briefly say the thing that I like about it is what they call instant torque. It used to be that if you needed to change lanes real quickly in the Dallas traffic, you push the accelerator all the way down. And if you had a car that had an automatic clutch, then you had to wait for it to change gears and then to rev up. And okay, all of that, none of that happens with electric. So having you push the accelerator down and you leap into the next lane. Now, there's some disadvantages that I understand. I watched the YouTube. Matter of fact, I watched 3 or 4 YouTubes on this. Tesla has come up with not a lithium ion battery, as we have been using for the last 10, 20 years, but a silver ion battery. What does that mean? Well, the silver ion battery has some really big advantages. One is it holds about 1/3 more energy per ounce, so to speak. It charges about 5 times faster. You can go from 0 up to 80% in 5 minutes. Okay, so no more you can say, well, you got to wait a long time for it to charge. Okay. It also it charges much faster. It also discharges much faster. What does that mean? Well, Tesla is claiming that I believe it's Model 2 is going to be able to be as fast as a 911 Porsche. So and of course, that's electric because it discharges quickly. It also, instead of having like up to 3,000 to 5,000 charges, it goes 15,000 charges. That means the electric battery in your car is going to outlast your car about 2 to 3 times. In other words, you're not that. Okay, let me get on to the next thing. It also is a third lighter, and it's about 20%, 30% less in cost. Why is that? Because lithium, yes, it's light, but it's also very expensive. And so when he comes out with these silver ion batteries, in my opinion, it's going to give electric cars a big jump. Now, a second thing, I kind of know a little bit about this. I've done some studies, done some experiments. Anyway, now this is what you call a radial electric motor. Okay, this is the way all of them work right now. But they've also invented Mercedes-Benz and several other companies have come up with an axial motor. It works like this. In other words, one is still stator, but it stays in one place, but then it rotates like this. And it's about 1/3 the weight, about 1/3 more power, but it doesn't have as many RPMs. So you'll probably have to have some kind of a clutch. Okay, so some big transmission, you need 1 or 2 gears. No, so big deal. What does all of that add up? It adds up, as in my opinion, in the next 5 years, you're going to see combustion engines beat badly by electric. Now, what does that have to do with us talking about gold and silver? Well, if they're going to start making batteries, and I think lithium batteries they are out the window. They're gone. As soon as the world finds this out, and right now Tesla is making 500. I think I'm saying it right. 500,000 batteries a day. I think that's correct.
Correct.
So in the next 5 years, combustion engines are going to be gone. If you try one of these, oh, and here's another thing: the price will fall through the floor. The price of the electric car will beat the gasoline car. What does all that mean? It means that there's going to be a big demand for silver. And the problem is, my understanding is that pretty much they've not found any new silver deposits in years.
Yes.
And so they're still pulling silver out of the ground, but it ain't coming out of the ground fast as it needs to be coming out of the ground, which means that the price of silver is about to go through the roof.
Yeah,
that's
you're exactly right.
Is that correct?
Yeah, and that's just, I mean, it's the old supply and demand economics 101. Yeah. And what we're seeing is we had understood, we don't know where all the gold and silver is. They're constantly finding it, but they have pretty good deposits that they pull out of. But what they're finding, particularly with silver, is that a lot of the assumed silver that there was, they're not finding it. And they keep looking and they say, well, we thought there would be, X amount of silver per, square mile, etc.
But they're finding more gold. They're finding more gold.
Yeah.
Not silver.
So, I mean, it's finite. I mean, interesting little tidbit here. All the gold that we assume there is, mined and unmined in the entire world, would fit in the Washington Monument. Every single ounce, all of it together. That's all there is. That's it.
Okay. So the point we're trying to make is, as Shane Warren was told, and I'm not giving financial advice, that the price of silver is going to skyrocket, meaning that when the eyes of the Americans finally wake up, which is pretty soon in my opinion, when they finally wake up and they see, uh-oh, the dollar is crashing and I want my wealth to not be gone, I don't want to lose it. Now do I put it in gold or silver? And all of a sudden, silver, Tesla's making 500,000 silver batteries a day. Okay, price of silver is going to be going up. So
yeah, exactly.
Getting gold and silver is a good idea, especially silver, and get it now.
Yes.
But again, it's not about making money; it's about preserving wealth. But if you can get both, that's even better, right?
Exactly. And you're right. I mean, don't get me wrong. I completely agree with that. The main priority here is to preserve your wealth and to protect your wealth. But absolutely, as you were alluding to with silver, I mean, the increase we're going to see, just some technical numbers here. This is, my job to work with some of these numbers. Historically, we see a ratio of about 35 ounces of silver is going to equal 1 ounce of gold. That's a pretty historic ratio of where they should exist. Now, what we're seeing right now is that it's about 80 ounces of silver. So even if gold decided to take a nap and didn't do anything, just for silver to get back to its historic kind of ratio there, you're looking at silver in the $80, $80, $90 range. So that's no more movement on metals. That's just to get to a norm. Now, why is that? Why all of a sudden has there been this huge discrepancy between silver and gold? The answer is it's not an accident. There is people like JP Morgan here who are depressing through paper trading, so not real gold and silver. They leverage out these paper trades on silver and really just silver, and they depress the price of silver. They keep it down. And this is the reason, they have been loading up on silver year over year for the last 15, 20 years. But until they have accumulated all they have, they're going to depress the price. So when people say, hey, Bill, how come silver hasn't gone up as much as it should, or this or that? I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still up 40, 50% in the last year. But the real returns, the ones that will really make your head spin, come the second that they give up.
Okay, we got 30 seconds to close here. So call 800-200-GOLD and say, I want to talk to Bill Armour.
I appreciate you so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure, and I really, just from the bottom of my heart, earnestly am excited to help people with this because they need to.
Amen. Thank you for being on Prophecy Club, my brother.
Thanks, Sam.